Monster Hunter, a story of humanity's resilience told through taking down monsters that are disrupting the balance of nature. These brave hunters work up quite the appetite in these hunts, which is why they eat so much delicious food from professional... Is that what we're eating? There's cat hair everywhere. This can't be sanitary. This place is not up to code. Or is it? Hi, I'm the 5th Fleet's Professional Health Inspector Winter, and I'm here to ask the one question on every Monster Hunter's minds. Is that food good? These cat chefs kind of seem incompetent, so is the food actually good, or is it full of disgusting health code violations? Spoiler, they are. But how many violations are there? What exactly have you been putting in your mouth all this time? Don't answer that. I don't want that to be my comment section. Today we'll be deep diving into the many meaty meals of Monster Hunter in an attempt to figure out if these cool cooking cats can cook in complete accordance with the code. What code, you ask? That's actually kind of tricky to answer. To undertake this endeavor, I had to start by picking a set of health and food safety laws from some country in the world, but I couldn't really think of any country with a blatant disregard for the health and well-being of its citizens under oppressive monsters with lax, often deeply unsafe laws around food safety. So for unrelated reasons, we're using America's laws. I started by going to the National Food and Drug Administration, or FDA's website, and after spending a week reading through about 300 pages of such titillating guidebooks such as Guide to Traceback of Fresh Fruit and Vegetables Implicated in Epidemiological Investigations. I discovered that while the FDA does technically inspect restaurants occasionally, they mainly handle consumer goods, and they leave it to the states to conduct inspections on their own rules at least once every 6 months. So that sucked. That's why I've spent the last week poring over Chapter 23 of the New York Health Code Authority, titled Food Service Establishment Inspection Procedures. This 56-page document tells us everything we need to know in order to properly assess the restaurants of Monster Hunter. We'll start by going to each establishment one at a time, look around for any violations we can find by poking around the kitchens, dining areas, and storage spaces, and then we'll order food and see how they work in a more dynamic way. We'll also obviously call out any health code violations we see along the way, and depending on how many violations they have, we'll then assign each restaurant a letter grade from A to C, just like they do in real life. If we find that a restaurant has too many issues and has too many fines, we'll be forced to shut them down. Each violation is worth a certain number of points based on severity, repetition, and danger level, and if they're bad enough, it's game over for the establishment. I'm going to cite all the critical violations first for each place we visit, and then I'll summarize the small general violations at the end. But that's enough talk. We're all qualified inspectors now, so let's get right into evaluations. Alright, so first up we've got the Astera Canteen run by the Meowscular Chef. And yep, I'm immediately seeing some problems. You see all these hanging meats and fruits next to each other? These are all temperature-controlled foods. They need to be properly stored. It's possible they're being dry-aged, exposed to the elements, or maybe they're being hung to drain of blood over the heads of cooked foods and customers, or they're just being stored there for later, but regardless, that's a critical violation, and I'll operate under the lenient assumption that this is for storage. The only raw meat that's allowed to be hung from a rope is mine. God, that's a fucking dumb joke. I need to cut that. Okay, Mr. Chef, may I call you Mr. Meowscular? What do you have to say about these flagrant violations? Meow. Wait, are you telling me that you sourced some of your ingredients from a random hunter? He's not sanctioned by the committee. I'm afraid that's also a violation. You can't just accept food from any source. This is a restaurant, not me in college. I'm going to make that one violation a little bit less severe because it turns out they do have approved sources of their food. There's this woman who works at the market down in Astera who brings up fish to supply the fish for the restaurant. So at least one approved source is enough. Looking at your stone stovetop over here, I'm not seeing a thermometer at any of the heating stations, or any in general, so violation. While we're looking at the surface, I waited a whole day, and throughout their 24-hour service, they never turned off and sanitized the flat top, despite cooking both red meat and fish on it, which is cross-contamination. Okay, so the executive chef of this restaurant may be a donkey, but let's see what the other employees are up to. Holy shit, are you okay? This cat's injured. Somebody give first aid. He went back to work. Okay. Next employee is Soup Cat. What are you up to? God damn it, are any of you qualified? Still, you did save it, so not a violation, I guess. All right, it's becoming increasingly clear that all of these idiot sandwich employees are unqualified. None of these employees are wearing proper hair restraints. Mr. Meowscular Chef over here has his little meowscular cheeks out, so... Sir, I just realized, do you even have your food protection certificate? Meow. Nah, I respect the hustle, but that's still a violation. You've got to keep your FBC certification on you as the manager. After looking around the place so much, I noticed something really obvious and really weird. Have you guys noticed yet? There's no water. There's no potable water, which means all of these vegetables and fruits are served unwashed, which means there's no culinary sink, and that also means there's no hand washing station, which means there's actually no dishwashing station either, now that I think about it. I can only assume they scrape leftover food off of the plate into like a bush or something, and then they reuse the dirty plate. Or maybe now that I think about it, that might be how Mr. Meowscular feeds his employees. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. Violation. While we're talking about sinks though, I realized there's no toilet. You need a hand washing station within 25 feet of a restroom, and you need a restroom in your establishment if it's formal. Since the canteen is part of Astera, I gave them the benefit of the doubt and searched all of Astera for a bathroom, but I didn't find one, so that's a violation. Now that I'm back in the kitchen, there's a live frog pig named Pee-Pee here. Oh, and there he goes. Well, this bird still shouldn't be here, so violation. I also found a rat eating the food stores. Well, based on everything we've seen here today, it's safe to assume Mr. Meowscular Chef here is running such a disgusting establishment that people will sit down and eat and then leave the moment the food arrives without touching it apparently, so it's safe to say you don't have an approved HACCP plan. No, yeah, didn't think so. Okay, let's do a lightning round of all of the general violations before we order some food. No hand washing station means no hand washing sign, and it also means no testing kits of violations. The presence of the butterflies and a lack of walls or netting attracts pests into the kitchen. That's also a violation. The stovetop is chipped and improperly maintained, and there's no thermometers in any of the heating stations, which we established earlier because there's no thermometers. There are 2 employees that pick bananas that appear to live in the ovens in the back. They don't do any other work, so they might just be squatters stealing bananas, but I don't care if they're squatters. I care that a food preparation area is being used as a sleeping quarters. Violation. And lastly, inadequate lighting. I guess not really, but while it isn't a health code violation, it is an OSHA violation with the flame's proximity to flammable substances, especially the torches at the entrance. Plus, the heating causes the nearby fruit to improperly be temperature controlled, so the critical violation. All right, time to order food before we finish evaluating. Oh, this is embarrassing. I'm not hungry. One sec. All right, I'm back. Make me your best. Putrid. The food was disgusting and I hated eating it, but I did my due diligence as an inspector. That's the reason. I didn't find any new health code violations, but using a chip knife is an OSHA violation again, so please don't make me do an OSHA video. You guys don't want to see that, right? Nobody wants to see that? I don't care what game it is. That sounds so miserable. Please don't make me do that, please. And with that, we conclude the inspection of the Astera canteen. Safe to say, you're an idiot and your business deserves to burn, you fuck, but thank you for letting me tour. Tallying the scores of the violations and their conditions, Astera canteen gets a 208. Keep in mind, a score of 28 and above comes with high risk of closure, be it temporary or permanent. So we're grading Meowscular Chef and his restaurant an F, which doesn't even exist. We have to immediately terminate his entire business. It felt like the only rule he didn't violate were rules 9 and 34, but I don't really have time to explain those. But the second one is actually pretty interesting, so I encourage you guys to look up Meowscular Chef Rule 34 to find out. That's my homework for the video. All right, I've arrived in Seliana for the second and final inspection. A lot colder up here, so hopefully that means there will be some kind of refrigeration this time. Let's go in. Wow, it's looking nice in here. An indoor venue is a great start. I'm really liking the decorations, but are you up to code? That is the question. I see a lot of hanging meat again, but this time it's more like a deli where they're kind of being properly kept within lowerable ropes and they're not above food that's being cooked or dining seating, and the vegetables are kept separately, so there's no contamination risk, nor are the meats exposed to the elements, so it's looking good so far, immediately better. Oh, pee-pee's back. But at least you're not in the kitchen this time. Still, having a live animal in the non-food area is also a violation. Once again, I'm not seeing a thermometer for food prep, but it seems like the owner, Gran, is taste testing and temperature testing with her tongue in a little tasting dish, which is nice that she tries, but it's still not enough. Oh, excuse me, Miss Gran, you wouldn't happen to have your FPC certification on you? Oh, would you look at that? Nice. Here we go. This chef over here is using potable water to make dough, so they do have sources of potable water. I'm also seeing a ton of clean dishes all around, so they clearly did have a dishwasher in the back, so that's great. While I'm watching this employee, she appears to be making dough without wearing gloves, which will get cat hair in it. Let's take this chance to survey all of the employees and see how they're working and if they're wearing the right protections. They're wearing clothes at least, so I assume they're doing better than the last place. Man, the prospects for jobs must be really rough here because these soup cats are always almost falling in. But at least they're wearing protection. Here we go. This bread baker cat is absolutely killing it. They've got all the right protections, they are properly baking the bread, and they're doing their job efficiently. A+ for baker cat. I also like how this little cat sorts through the spices. I really like how they... Well, I mean, if he cleans up, it'll be fine. Gran, I think you need to execute this employee. Sneezing, licking their paws, and then not washing the bowl and pouring the food out as if it's a finished product violates a ton of rules, so this is kind of grounds for immediate closure. However, overall, this place does far better with hair restraint, covering almost 100% of their bodies except their hands, sadly, so it's still a violation, but scores less severely on the condition scale. And that's actually all the critical violations I could find. Now, I know what you're thinking. The music just ramped up. Surely there's more to find. What about the bathroom? If we go to the gathering hub, there's not only foot baths and a sauna, there's also a bathroom down this hallway over here. So, adding up all the general violations, the ventilation was actually sufficient, but the presence of this butterfly tells me that they haven't fully proofed the establishment against pests, so that's one violation. And obviously they still don't have a thermometer at the heating stations, but these are much better than the last location. Okay, now for the last step of the inspection. It's time to... Shit, wait, 1 second. Nobody saw that, okay? Gran, I totally aced that hunt. I'm hungry, please cook me your specialty. Okay, that's kind of gross. Put gloves on, please. Okay, I feel like I'm reacting to a TikTok. Okay, that's an injury, but it should be fine. That's the worker's fault. I'm not a claims adjuster. I can't tell you if they'll get workers' comp. No, it looks great. Other than the hundreds of cat hairs in the food, it was pretty good. So no violations we haven't already addressed. Good job. And that's all of the violations in Seliana, much less than the Astera location. Tallying up Seliana's score, they total up to 51 violations. That's a score of a C. It would have just barely been a B, but Spice Cat messed it all up by making up half of the points. Everyone, please go find Spice Cat's LinkedIn and make their life hell until this establishment fires them. Once they're gone and Gran buys some more gloves for the place, they can even get a score of up to an A. Relatively good job, everyone. Now, you may be asking, what about Monster Hunter Wilds felines? The game is coming out extremely soon, and by that I mean today, and I will probably be playing it by the time you're watching this, so I'll be evaluating the game chefs live on Twitch as I play through the game. I stream a super wide variety of games and hold mini community events, so please come by and join in on the shenanigans. We're doing our 100 and 150 sub specials soon, so come by, it'll be nyantastic. I'm never doing that again. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to make my way out for the next inspection.